Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit record so that people can catch the recording. I want to be very respectful since we're already starting kind of late because technology. We're gonna get going, but I am so excited to have everybody here. I realized as I was making this workshop that let me do slideshow. I was realizing as I was making this workshop that mamas really need to hear this, but really women in general, I think that society has just given us these crazy standards to live by that are just these double standards. And it's like, sometimes it's hard to freaking breathe, but especially when you're a mama, it's like you've got so much more on the line. So, okay, let's do screen share. Uh-oh, my Zoom is freezing. Hopefully this works. Okay, can you guys see can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my PowerPoint? Awesome. Okay. Hey, I'm so excited to talk to you guys about getting your pink back. I became very passionate about this when I realized I had lost my pink and I lost my joy. And I realized this because I woke up one day just not wanting to be alive. And that's super hard for me to share because I was so greatly blessed. I had a beautiful teaching career. I had a career that I was like, okay, this is something I'm good at. I'm contributing to the world. I'm contributing to my family's financial situation. But I remember being at work just crying. I was just absolutely sobbing because my boobs were starting to fill up. I needed to pump, but I couldn't go pump. And I was just thinking about, I wish I could nurse my kiddo. And then when I was at home with my kids, I was thinking about my students at work. So it just occurred to me that we as women are doing so much. And with whether, like, if we're at home, we feel guilty. If we're working, we feel guilty. There's just so much freaking guilt and shame. And that's something that I am just on a mission to completely obliterate for mamas because we already have enough to worry about. So finally, we're going to learn how to start filling our own cup so we can take on and fill everybody's cup and take on every day. And exclamation, I really think I pulled up the wrong PowerPoint, but we're going to roll with it. Okay, bear with me. Abraham Lincoln said this. He said, the best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time. And if you saw my post on Instagram yesterday or the day before, I was talking about this realization when I read this quote that oftentimes when we feel this extreme feeling of overwhelm, and who in here has felt overwhelmed, like especially since having kids, probably every day, multiple times a day. When I read this quote by Abraham Lincoln, I realized when I feel overwhelmed, it's actually abundance. And it's also the idea that I think that right now in this moment, I need to do all of the things that are going to happen in the future. And that's not the case. We can take it one day at a time. We can take it one task at a time. So we're going to do this. So everybody here actually knows me. I am Kira Miranda. I am the founder of Empire Rewire and More Energy, Less BS. So these are Empire Rewire is kind of like an umbrella of life coaching. More Energy, Less BS is my program that has helped mamas, really helped anybody start taking massive action, especially when they feel overwhelmed, and get some amazing results in their life, whether it's physically, financially, relationships. I am a formerly known as Beachbody. Thank goodness they've changed the name. Body coach and life coach that specializes in burnout recovery. I mostly work with mamas and teachers in burnout recovery, goal setting, and helping women fall in love with themselves. I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Utah in health promotion education with a minor in coaching. I taught health for 7.5 years. I left halfway through, and I got my master's in business. So one of the biggest things that I've learned as I have become life coaching is most people actually know what they need to do. They know what healthy eating looks like. They know what good meditation does for their body. I think that society is starting to really understand the importance of mental health. The problem, especially as mamas, oftentimes we just cannot get ourselves to do it or to move forward, or we have given all of our energy to everyone else. And so when it's like, okay, it's time for me to go meditate, even that takes too much energy. Even if you're doing 60-second meditation, it's like just the thought of getting up and changing the direction I'm moving feels like too much. So tonight we're going to learn how to create that energy so that we can do anything we want. And don't forget, I am actually giving away a free one-on-one session for at the end of this. So there are only 4 on here right now, so we can even schedule a free one-on-one for everybody on here, honestly. Let's get to why it is so freaking hard to be a mama, because we are feeling like we are dropping all of the balls and failing at everything. Let's get into that. Okay. So experts, I want in the chat. Oh, we already have a thing in the chat. Okay. I want to hear, and we should even say society. What is something that society tells us that we need to be or do to be a good mother? Or even just a good woman, right? What's something, and it could even be like, be home with your kids. Yes, yes, yes. I have heard it both ways too. I've heard a real mom works to provide for her family, and then I've heard a real mom stays at home. And it's like, it's funny because when I was working, I got so much shame for working, and now that I'm home, I get so much shame for being home. It's just society just wants to judge the crap out of us no matter what we're doing. What are some other things that society or even experts have said will make us good moms? I'm going to share a whole bunch. So as I was creating this, I put up some polls. You may have seen them. And I put up some questions, and I wanted to see what people had mostly heard from their own experiences, or even maybe these are thoughts that they had based off of the way they were treated and things that they had heard growing up. Okay. So in order to be a great mom, you must, all of these things have, we'll talk about them. So be grateful for the time that they're young. It goes by so quick. Yes, there is so much truth to that. And yes, there's times where I'm like, oh, I just need to get as much cuddles as I can. But at the same time, that is so dismissive of how freaking hard and how exhausted you are. So when you're in a place where, especially if you have postpartum depression or everybody's sick and you're struggling, and there's almost like a shame in there where they're like, just be grateful that you still have your little ones while they're little. It's like, okay, that pill isn't easier to swallow, right? That doesn't change the fact that I am exhausted and I feel like I just sat on a freaking volcano right after I had my baby, right? Sacrifice your body for them. Don't give in to cravings. I heard this one a lot when I was pregnant. Don't give in to cravings. And then I heard, do give in to your cravings. Gain weight. Don't gain too much weight. Live on salads. Keep your house perfectly clean. Get ready for the day. Don't worry about getting ready for the day. Eliminate all carbs. Be a certain size. This one is really, really, especially older generations. My husband's, one of his tias came up to me and grabbed my cheeks, and she says, this is the only time you're allowed to be fat, when I was pregnant. And I'm like, who talks like that? First of all, it was just crazy. Put your children and even your partner before your own needs. Be faithful to everyone around except for yourself. I noticed as a mom, as soon as I started putting up boundaries, even for my children, people would get really, really upset. In the Latin culture, it is very, when you're leaving, at least in my husband's family culture, when you're leaving, you got to go give all of the tias and tias kisses goodbye. And I didn't make my children do that. And I was told that I was being so disrespectful, and I was teaching my children to be disrespectful. When I was actually teaching my children it's okay to have boundaries and your body is in your control. So it's just so funny that society and our even friends and family are so quick to think that your boundaries mean something about them and something that you feel about them. Oh, this one. This one ticks me off. Beyonce has the same 24 hours as you do. You can do all the workouts. You can do all the things. Okay, no, Beyonce does not have the same 24 hours as I do. And her money buys all the time in the world because she could pay for somebody to do all the cooking. She could pay for somebody to do all the cleaning. You cannot tell me she has the same 24 hours as I do. This one, it's just a season, be grateful. Okay. We all walk through hard seasons and we all need to give ourselves some grace. And I kind of mentioned again in just in this one too. But at the same time, at what point do we accept that this is just a season? There's nothing I can do. Give your family organic home cooked meals, every single meal, a real woman work. Basically, what I'm trying to say is if you have felt any of these, or if you're a mom, in some way you have felt some of these social pressures, and a lot of them are contradicting each other, and it's painful and it's hard and it's exhausting to be told what a real mom looks like, what a real mom sounds like, what a real mom feels like, what a good mom feels like. And to be honest, the truth is that society thinks that we need to be this 1920s housewife. We need to be perfect. We got someone coming in. We need to be perfect. We need to, in order for you to have any success, you just got to work harder. You've got to be more dedicated. The problem is that this is going to lead right to burnout. There we go. This is going to lead right to burnout. And honestly, I was one of those mamas that wore this burnout as a badge. And I thought that I was amazing because I was so exhausted. I was sacrificing everything, but I was yelling at my kids. I was so impatient. I was sitting in the shower crying. I was not liking the person that I became because I was doing all the things that society told me to do. And I wasn't where I wanted to be. But I want to ask you a question. Like, raise your hand if you are where you want to be in life right now. Every time I do this workshop and ask this question, nobody raises their hand because nobody's where they want to be. And the truth is that, and the reality is that the only time you are ever behind in life is when you are comparing your life and your situation to another person. And you might see that that person has just prioritized things different than you. And they've focused that time on that, but maybe they're lacking in an area of life where you're freaking killing it, where you're absolutely killing it. We can't compare because we have totally different situations. And that's when we become behind in life. See, I got ahead of myself. The truth is that any success that you don't have right now, I want you to take a breath and know that it is not your fault. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna start crying already. It is not your fault because you have been doing the best that you can, and that's more than enough. Because our children don't need us to be perfect. My house is a mess right now. Like, I could turn the screen and show you guys my house is a disaster, but my kids and I had a blast last night making this mess. We're gonna clean it up as soon as we jump off this call, right? But this mess doesn't change my worth as a mother, and it doesn't change the way my children feel joy and feel loved. And if I had a perfectly clean house, that the same thing, that doesn't change our worth, and that doesn't change. So we got to get out of that comparison. When I started my life coaching course, the first thing that they taught us was the sentence that you already have everything inside of you that you need to create any reality that you want. So your superpower comes from being you and not another woman. So the first thing that I really, really, really want to emphasize in this is that comparison is going to be the thief of your joy. And that's something that we are going to leave behind in 2023, not through 2020. Did I skip it? Okay. No more comparison. You are who you need to be. And everybody that walks in your presence is so freaking blessed to have you. And we're going to help that light that you have shine even brighter. So I don't want you to take another second feeling guilty, and we're going to breathe out that guilt and that shame of not having the success that you want. Whatever that success looks like for you, it's not your fault. And we are going to embrace the beauty that we are as mamas, right? Okay, so I really want to emphasize another thing. The only weight that we need to lose in 2023 is the weight of shame, guilt, comparison, and F's given about other people's opinions. Because that shiz does not matter. And I tell my clients all the time, if you can't step on a scale without telling yourself a story about that fact, and we'll get into that. We're going to get into life coaching in just a minute. I want you to throw out that scale. because that scale does not determine the direction that you're going to go. Honestly, we don't need scales at all. And it's funny because I have fitness clients that join my fitness programs all the time that are like, I'm going to buy a scale. And I'm like, no, don't use that money to buy a scale. I'd rather use that money to go buy yourself a movie ticket and spend some time alone. Especially if you're a mama. I'm going to mute this for a second so you don't have to hear my nasty cough. It's not, oh, it is going to let me. Sorry, we are all getting over COVID and flus, and we've been passing crap around. You can even hear my voice. It hasn't been pretty over here. Okay, can you guys still see my screen? Are we good? Okay. Another thing I wanted to tell you is, and maybe this isn't a big thing for you guys. For me, I love eating out. Like I absolutely love eating out. And I want you to know, and the reason why I brought this up is I said you can eat out and get results. You don't have to spend hours in a gym. You can have 20 minutes of the most effective workouts, and it's going to be so much more beneficial than spending hours in the gym. The reason why I brought these two up in this presentation is because I want you to know that what you think it looks like to get results in your life, whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally, whether it's fitness, you can get these results in a way that is different than what you've been taught in the past. I think that the fitness industry has done a horrible number on us and has created these insane standards, and also has a very commonly misunderstood idea of what healthy looks like. So I actually debated on whether or not I was going to put this picture of me on here. And the reason why I didn't want to put this up is because I don't want that misinterpretation of health as a size. But I did want to bring up the fact that the outward success that you're going to see somebody make is actually a reflection of the inner work that somebody has done. So this picture here that you see, I didn't track everything that came in my body. I didn't spend hours exercising. I didn't spend any time shaming or guilting or punishing my body. These results are 100% from showing myself love and grace and telling myself every day a new narrative that I'm worthy of my own time and love, that what I do is enough. Gosh, I'm sorry. I told myself I wasn't gonna get emotional, but when I do these workshops talking to mamas, it just hits me. But none of this is from punishment. It is all from love. And I know that moving away from like side by sides, I still want to show like there are physical results that come from emotional changes and mental and the way that we talk to ourselves. So I want to tell you a story about my kiddo, Kaiden. He's the one on the far right. He's my oldest. And his two younger brothers are just brilliant. I mean, they're all Kaiden is like the most emotionally intelligent little boy I've ever met. But his two little brothers, math and school just clicks for them to the point where they were both asked to skip a grade. I said no. They asked them to go to a gifted and talented program. We decided to compromise and have them do a Chinese. So they go to school in Chinese. It's a Chinese dual immersion program. And Kaiden has zero confidence in his abilities, especially because he starts to compare himself to his brothers. So he's struggling with math, and he comes home and he's like, I'm trying to show him how to do something that he's struggling with. And instead of listening to me, he says, I'm so stupid, I'm never going to get it. And he just, I'm like, just watch this. If you do A plus B, it equals C, right? I'm just trying to explain it in a way that makes it so simple. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm kind of one of those dummies that I see their math homework and it doesn't make sense to me because math has changed. Math hasn't actually changed. It's just the way that they think about it has changed. So it takes me a minute to figure out what they're doing. So I tried to explain to him in a way that I understood it. And I'm like, this makes perfect sense, but he's just not getting it. He's not like letting it in. Like, have you guys ever experienced this where you're trying to explain something to someone and they're so frustrated that they aren't, it's just, they're not even letting it in their brain, right? Well, I want you to look at yourself and think, have you ever done this to yourself? So a mom walks in front of a mirror and says, I'm so stupid, I'm so ugly, I won't ever get it. I'm so ugly, I'm so fat, I'm so whatever. When we do this, we are continuing to perpetuate this narrative that we're not enough. We're never going to get it. And when we do this, we're never going to be able to let in the stuff that's actually going to change our lives. And this is what I had to battle through. And this is what I work with moms every single day. And the reason why we can't get ourselves to do the workout, the reason why we can't get ourselves to do that next thing that we know is going to help us. One workout isn't going to make us healthy, just like one unhealthy meal isn't going to make us unhealthy, right? But if we think in our brains, it's never going to work for me, why would I do one? This is why it's so hard for us to take action, is because we don't think that what we do is ever going to be enough. But this changes today, because now today you're going to walk away thinking about the way that you talk to yourself and about yourself. And that's called constructive ethos. Most mamas, most of us use destructive ethos, but we're going to change that, because if nothing changes, what changes? And we get to do that for our babies and for the people around us. We get to change that narrative for ourselves. So I want you to look at it as like this puzzle piece, and there's this burnout gap, right? So here's you, here's your pink. We're trying to get our pink back. In between, there's this huge gap that has been created from us in our pink, and that gap is created by guilt. It gets bigger because of shame. It gets bigger because we sacrifice too much. It gets bigger because when we're in these, you feel so lonely. Like, I can't even tell you how many times my best friends have texted me. I've had the same best friend since 4th grade. If I texted one of them and was like, I feel so lonely, they would be here in a heartbeat. But I find a way to tell myself, well, they're mamas, they're too busy. So I tell myself this story that I'm alone, which creates an even bigger gap. Nobody knows the pain I'm feeling. I'm alone. Then I doubt myself. It hasn't worked before. Why is it going to work now? And then that leads to, and this is all, again, the deconstructive ethos. Oh, my son took my tissues. Everybody's been sick, so all my tissues are gone. Dang it. And that burnout gap is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until we move on to these 3 things. So these 3 puzzle pieces are how I put my life back together and got my pink back. And this is how you're going to get your pink back if you're open to it, right? So constructive ethos, a simple plan, and then accountability allegiance. So if you don't learn self-mental care through the science of constructive ethos, you're going to end up continuing to do things like yo-yo dieting, self-deprecating talk, and live in constant exhaustion without ever getting to your goals and results you've always wanted. Oh, there's that little quote I mentioned before. Someone's external success is a reflection of the work they've done inside. So here's the thing is, a lot of people, I know some mamas on here that have been like, you are a personality type where you get shiz done, right? Like, it doesn't matter if your world is falling apart, you still show up for other people. You get work done, and you get further exhausted, but you push that away, and somehow you find a day or 2 that maybe you're able to kind of refuel up a little bit, but then you keep going at it. That can change. And we may think we're okay and we're handling it, but that's going to lead to things like heart disease, diabetes. And then more importantly for me, the biggest one that I realized I need to change was perpetuating generational trauma. And when I was 5 years old, my mom had an affair and she left my family. My dad was a single dad on a teacher's income with 6 kids. And that was the beginning of me learning that I wasn't enough. I wasn't enough for her to stay. And as an adult, I realized that obviously, like, I'm not going to go leave my children, but there are different messages I realized that I send my children. And the one thing I don't want them to know or ever feel is that they're not enough. If you do learn self-mental care through the science of constructive ethos, and especially if you master it with all 3 pillars, you can finally get the energy and self-belief without having to sacrifice hours or your favorite comforts, like me, is eating out and breaking the bank. Okay, so pillar number one, or the first puzzle piece, is having a sustainable plan. So when I say sustainable and simple plan, I'm talking about something that is enjoyable enough that you can continue doing, something that isn't so extreme that you become burnt out or exhausted from it. You're going to have more energy, and that energy is going to kind of like snowball and create this momentum in your life. And you're going to start to see it actually happen in all areas of your life, right? So if you're like, I'm going to add exercise because I want to work on, like, my family, heart disease, it runs rampant in my family. So I want to start exercising. Okay, well, if I do a 20-minute exercise, that's better than doing nothing. And a part of simplicity is getting rid of the, I wish I had it in here, was the all or nothing mentality that a lot of people have. They think this is an example of all or nothing mentality. I am going to be starting a new diet plan on Monday, so I'm just going to enjoy all of my stuff right now. I'm going to eat all of the treats. Have any of you guys ever done that? Like, I'm going to start Monday, so I'm just going to eat whatever I want today, right? And then you start out with low energy or low vibrations. Or another one is, well, I can't do all of my workout today, so I'm just not even going to start it. That's an all or nothing mentality. We're going to get rid of that, right? Let's see. A simple plan keeps things 30 minutes or under. Simple plan, eating for energy. You're going to have better sleep, and you're going to save money being on a simple plan. We're going to talk about what stories are in just a second, the stories that we tell ourselves, but oftentimes no, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'll tell you in just a second. Pillar 2 is Allegiant accountability. This one is always kind of hard for me to talk about because it sounds almost cultish and almost creepy, but it's like when you're in a group of Allegiant accountability, that means that there is accountability both ways. So the person that you're holding yourself accountable is invested in your results and in your what you're aiming for as well. So when you have an Allegiant plan of Allegiant accountability, you're going to show up knowing you're not alone. You're going to be seen and heard. For me, that was a big one because I was taught that my value as a human and as a woman was I was more valuable when I wasn't heard and when I was seen. I was more valuable when I was able to be convenient for others. You're going to be recognized and celebrated because what gets tracked gets improved and what gets celebrated gets repeated. Okay, constructive ethos. You're going to be able to show up with confidence, feel empowered, feel excited, feel motivated. Trust, this one's huge. Trust that the work you do today is going to help your goals in the future come fruition. I'm sorry, guys. Just bear with me. Oh, this one's huge. Feel like you have purpose and direction, especially as a mama. When you don't feel like there's purpose and direction in your life, it can get very, very scary and very, very dark. Okay. Constructive ethos. This for me is the bread and butter. This is a fun part. So we're going to get into life coaching a little bit, and this is how we start. I do have a course for people that teaches you constructive ethos. So we learn about in this course toxic time, things like toxic times are things like gossiping, things like, I keep thinking the Spanish word. I'm trying to think the English word for what I'm trying to say. Gossiping and complaining and buffering. So this is like, instead of doing something you know you need to do, doing something else. We're going to learn things like how to be positive, how to have a constructive way of thinking. But here's the thing, is you have this voice in this narrative that has been in your head for almost your entire life. And we need to change that. So just knowing a different way of thinking isn't going to be helpful because those limiting beliefs. So a limiting belief is something that you believe about your capabilities that has been implanted into your brain since you were a kid. So in life coaching, we basically have this theory that there's a head voice and a heart voice. Our head voice is a voice that pops into our head that points to the past. It's fear. So when you're in fear and doubt and weakness, When you're thinking about failure, judging yourself or others, shame, that's your head voice talking. And that's rooted in scarcity. When we're in our heart voice, it's pointed to the future. It's hope, it's faith, it's purpose, love, and rooted in abundance, right? So, oh gosh. Thank you for being patient with me. So here's the cool thing. From here on out, what's going to happen in your life? The worst thing that can happen is a vibration. It's a feeling in your body, right? There's going to be hard things that happen in our life, but if there's something that you want to do and you're afraid of failure, that's just a vibration. That's just a feeling in your body. We can get through any of those feelings, right? So when you're thinking about your head voice or your heart voice, there's a story that we tell ourselves about everything in our life. So a fact is something that doesn't change. So a fact is, it can't change based off of opinion. It's everybody, it's a universal, everybody agrees on this thing. So the story is what you tell yourself about that fact. The story that you tell yourself is going to be based off of if you're in your head voice or your heart voice. And that comes from your experiences in the past, the way that you were raised, right? So here's the thing, is our stories create the feeling, and every action that we do in our life is driven by either creating a feeling or avoiding a feeling. And those actions are what's going to manifest what our life looks like. So is there something that somebody's kind of struggling with right now that you want to work through? And we can work through it. Maybe I'll do like an example and you can kind of see what I mean. So the fact is that I let me pull up one that we went through. Having a brain fart now. Okay, here we go. So I was working with a client the other day, and she was talking about how her husband was being mean. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about what happened. When you felt like your husband was being mean, what happened? She said, well, my husband came home and said, is dinner done? And she's like, he was being so mean. He just expects me to do all of the things he can help. I'm like, okay, so the fact is your husband came home and was like, is dinner done? Now, the story that you tell yourself is going to be interpreted based off of if you're in a head voice or your heart voice. So if my husband comes home and I've had a hard day and he's like, hey, is dinner done? Or like, what's for dinner? And I'm like, really? You can help with dinner? Are you gonna help me decide? What are you making for dinner, right? If I'm in my head voice, I might be interpreting that as him being mean. If I'm in my heart voice, I could be like, another way of interpreting that is maybe I have created this standard in our family, or maybe this is the narrative I've created. And the story I could tell myself is he's hungry. It doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be positive. So there's a fact. So you can kind of see how we're going to interpret things different depending on the story that we have. So does anybody have an example of what they want to share? I'm having a hard time getting out of business mode because I just recently got off of a business call. So in my head, I just keep coming up with business stories, and I don't think that those will translate very well here. Somebody's struggling. What are you struggling with? That's okay. We could do one-on-ones. But basically, there's a fact, there's a story that we tell ourselves about that, a feeling that is created by that story. Those actions are created by that feeling, and then we manifest that in our life. So what I want you to walk away with this is anytime you have a negative feeling in your body, I want you to think, what happened right before this? Why did I feel this way? And then, oh, I just came up with an example. I don't know if I should share it. When you're feeling something good, you're in your heart voice. So anytime you experience something bad, how can we get into our heart voice? Or anytime we experience something like, I don't know if I can be successful at this. This is something I want to do. I am scared. That's your head voice. It's rooted in the past. I haven't been able to do it in the past, so why can I do it now? That's rooted in the past. So here's what I want to tell you. When you notice that you're in your head voice, and you want to get in your heart voice, I want you to think, what would I tell somebody that I believe in? If they're like, hey, Kira, I want to start a new business, but I'm scared. I don't know if I can do this. Or I want to start a new program, or I want to go back to grad school. I don't know if I could do this. Maybe you doubt yourself, but what would you say to somebody that you believe in? And that's a freaking quick way to get into your heart voice. Okay. So these 3 pillars have really, really saved my life in so many different ways and the lives of my others. And this is why I am so freaking passionate about what I do and what I teach. And I did not get very clear in this part. I apologize for that. I just don't know why. It's a struggle today. It might be all the gunk in my brain. But before we move on, if anybody has any questions too, I would love to answer those questions. And if you guys are down, I'd love to tell you about my next program coming up where we're teaching these 3 pillars. Is everybody okay if I go over that program? Everybody's cool with that? Okay. So in this program, what we are going to be offering is a proven method to fall in love with yourself by developing unshakable self-belief, organization, self-control to create that body, mind, and life of your dreams without spending hours in the gym or going into debt. Now, where I say body, I don't want you to in your brain, because I think that society has made us think this way. When I say body, people automatically think of a size or think of weight loss. That's not what I mean. When I say body, I mean a body that you wake up feeling like you had a full night's rest. You wake up feeling like you have all of the energy without needing extra caffeine to get through your day. We need to start changing the way that we interpret those things, right? The narrative that society has given us. Number 2, time carving tools to relieve your full plate. This makes 24 hours feel so much longer and leaves you with more time than you've ever had before to accomplish everything you want in life and still have time for your family and create memories. My exact blueprint on how to get pumped and excited for life by creating a sacred routine that drags you out of brain fog and gives you the energy and motivation you've been craving. A daily accountability system to help you show up consistently, even when life gets unpredictable, with one-on-one weekly Q&A sessions so that you can dig deeper into your personal struggles and get the answers that you really, really want. My high performance habit tracker system that will save you time and energy and make showing up for yourself feel effortless and guilt-free. Has anybody ever experienced that where you have something that you're going to do for yourself, you feel guilty? I feel guilty going and getting my nails done. And I'm like, what? I know better. Why am I feeling guilty still? Okay, tactical stress reversing techniques to create mental clarity and improve relationships and have more restful sleep. Notice that sleep is like a common factor in there, right? I'm just seeing that a lot. Done for you nutrition plans. And my nutrition plans are freaking awesome because I have a grocery link. So you click on it, it takes you to Walmart, and all you have to do is click add, click add, click add. Or you can do click all and add it all to cart and then just submit that. The reason why I do it that way though is because you want to go through your pantry. You don't want to be buying extra stuff that you don't need. Let's save money there. Gut healing options. Okay, so to work with me, I do have a masterclass. So you see right here where it says self-paced rewired to master your CEO mindset. There is a course that is mastering the mommy mindset. And that's where we're changing that narrative. So there is a course there and it's not the business side. So normally to work with me, to do one-on-one, work with me one-on-one bi-weekly, have the master class, it's $2,000. But we are doing things very, very different now. So to do like full-on life coaching with me, it's $9.99 for 3 months. But what's really, really cool is I partner with a company that pays me. So what you do is you just pay for the cost of your subscription. And then if you want to add, so it's $500 altogether. If you want to add the one-on-one life coaching as well, it's just the difference of $500 and $159. And the offer is for today. So New Year's Day, it goes up to the $9.99. Or you can always just do the Sure Thing. So Sure Thing is a new program that came out, and it does type training and resistance training. So in these workouts, they are proven and effective. So you're not going to be doing extra cardio. You're not going to be doing extra workouts. And what's really, really cool is the reason why they call it Sure Thing is because they implement rest days. And these days make you actually take rest, do stress relieving techniques so that you can show up for your other days stronger than ever and create more energy in your life and to get your pink back. So I just wanted to show you a few testimonials. It was so hard for me to choose from testimonials. So we just did our most recent. So we have Kalina, who is down more than 50 pounds. We've got Edward, who lost 20 pounds. And guys, I know, I'm like, don't worry about weight. It's not a big deal. This is just a reflection of what's happening internally. So that's why I also included the most important part is like where Kalina says that she had more energy than ever. Jennifer talks about her skin and the difference in her skin and her energy. I wish that there was a more tangible way for me to show you other than physical results. So I had them write down some cool stuff that they gained, but this is, I think that the most important thing is what you gain, and the way that you talk to yourself will be very, very different. Does anybody have any questions before I let you guys go and have a freaking amazing New Year's? Awesome. Okay. If you have any questions about it, remember, I'm just giving everybody on here a one-on-one session. There's going to be no charge for that. Just a free life coaching session. I get so much. I want to give back to mamas. And you know, it's funny. I normally don't talk about this on here. When it comes to money, I always hate talking about the charge because I just want to give everybody everything for free. But my mentor had mentioned that if there is no sense of like amount on the line or money on the line, kiddo just woke up. If there is no sense of skin in the game, we're not going to make those big changes. And there's got to be some kind of investment. So I think that the most important investments that you're ever going to make is the one in your joy and in your health and in your stress management. And I am just here to be that resource that helps you find that light that you already have inside. My job is just to help you access that. Okay, sorry, I'm done talking now. Questions? Does anybody have any questions before I let you guys go?
Thank you, Kara. That's what I needed to hear. Sorry. Oh my
No,
gosh.
Allie,
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for receiving. That's one of the most important things that you will ever do is just be opening to receiving. Thank you so much for your words. And make sure to schedule our one-on-one. Oh,
Thank you.
you're so welcome. I love you guys. Everyone on here. Even my homies that I just met. I love you. I love so deeply, and I care about every single human on here. If you are like, let's freaking do this. Everybody has my phone number. Yes, text me. Victoria, I love it. Text me, even if it's just to schedule your free one-on-one. I love you guys, and have a freaking happy New Year.